Today's video is sponsored by the free Eagles app for War Thunder. Download the app in the video description below and use the code shown on screen to get 10 golden eagles right now.
Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the mouse. In today's video I tried to bring things into perspective regarding the mouse, where it stands and how it really is. And I want to begin this video discussion really with a scene that is just so typical for the mouse. There is a T-62, I aim for the cupola and the shell explodes, which is one of the strengths of the mouse, and it just kills 2 crew members, just kills the turret ring, but not disables the gun breach nor kills the entire turret crew. He was able to repair in time and to extinguish the fire before I could really have a second shot at it. And that sums up the mouse. You cannot really advance by yourself and you heavily rely on teamwork, and that is deeply frustrating because this is one of the APHE shells at that caliber range and you know, even above, which has the most HE filling, but it sometimes feels so meaningless. And that is a bad part, guys. You should really work around it. This also happens when you straight on penetrate something like a T-54-47 straight through the gun mantle, which is difficult by default because it's such a trollish armor. Now, that sounds bad, but then there are other things about the mouse which make it absolutely glorious. And that is the armor in comparison to the rest of the tanks in the German tech tree, because you actually can angle it more or less reliable. Don't get this wrong, and this is where some of the misconceptions lately come in. The mouse is good at dealing with conventional guns, but the second it switches over to heat FS or APDS, APFSDS, the mouse armor is not really that strong. Yes, sometimes somebody misaims, sometimes you get a little luck and deflect the shot. The problem is, what if something penetrates? If it is a high penetrating APHE shell, you're done. You just lose too many crew members, you lose a lot of modules, turret rotation speed, gun breach, gun barrel in particular, when you get bombed and rocketed and suicide bombed, and the repair time are really that long, but you stay alive. That is good, that is bad. It is good that you're still alive. You could theoretically repair and continue fighting, but the repairs take so long that you're out of the action, and a lot of people know this, and they just leave the mouse there to repair and flank it, make a, you know, what I call in German a Fangschuss, and you know, the kill shot basically. They can flank you all around you, too slow for the speed of enemy nations' tanks. And while the matchmaker, which is great at the time, a lot of vehicles have pulled up to 9.0 and also readjusted. Certain vehicles do not really get spammed out anymore. You see so much more misplay from enemy players lately that I would never do. I mean, I'm not the world's best tanker, but certain things I would never do. And certain basic rules still apply for every tank, regardless how good or bad it is. Situational awareness, positioning, trying to avoid your weaknesses, trying to maximize your strength. The mouse is really special in this respect. What's the weakness? Mobility and maneuverability. To a certain degree also firepower, but firepower is also the strength. Nobody dares to give you the side. Nobody really tries to face you when you're fully operational. And yeah, nobody has your survivability as well. And then there is the 75mm gun, which doesn't help if you get suicide bombed by an arcade player. I just said it's an arcade player because I'm a super elitist, you know, and I'm the best player in the world, and if somebody suicides on me, that never happens in RB. It must be an arcade player, right? Right? I hope you got the rightful meaning. So here we are on Fulda, and we can see a good portion and a bad portion. One very good thing about 7.7 lately is, let's just talk through it with 9.0. Let's begin with 9.0. So we saw a lot of economy changes, we saw a lot of battle rating changes. What they're actually meaning is now that top tier is divided into two classes, 9.0 and 7.7. 9.0, there are so many players and so few 8.0 players that all 8.0 and above 8.3, 8.7 get automatically sucked into 9.0 while they're hopelessly inadequate. There is still a lot of compression. Don't get fooled by that. 7.7 is then the next higher, really efficient top tier. Rarely I saw an up tier in the mouse to 8.0 or 8.3. And even then, it really didn't matter, because a lot of the problems that you have in higher battle ratings, you also have at lower battle ratings. And then let's switch over to it, because the Leopard also saw a down tier to 7.7, which is more than deserved. Like the up tier on the T5447 to also 7.7, which is more than deserved. Now, then there is this scene. If you are in something like an M103, don't fuck up your heat FS shot. And I don't know why people are really that incapable of dealing with the mouse, because dealing with the mouse is really, really easy. If you get pushed by a mouse, that's one thing. If you get killed by a mouse, that's another thing. If you're in an M103, he never really tried to retreat, he never aimed for my guns, and he really screwed up that. I mean, yeah, he aimed for the turret front, but at that angle, it was too angled for him. If he would have shot the side of the turret, he would have got through. If he shot the gun mantle, he would have gotten through as well and taken out my gun breech, and even the 75 from that angle. But he didn't do this. So firing at the gun mantle when the turret is angled is the key weakness of the mouse, because APHE shells go right through and detonate above the gun breech, killing all the crew and the gun breaches. And then you have a damn long time to repair, up to 80 seconds. 80 seconds! You're faster to bail out, get into a light tank, and then try to capture a point or kill somebody else, because you can't move. And that leads to teamwork. Teamwork is so important for the mouse. Let me talk you through. The Leopard is finally at 7.7. In addition, with the down-tiered Kanonjagdpanzer 4.5, which is, I give it that, mobile, together with the MKPZ M47, the German premium tier 5 tank, you have now mobile tanks. And yeah, two of them, when you take the RE251 into account as well, have premium status, so you have to buy it. But nevertheless, you have the option. And they can try to flank the enemy and defeat them head on, the flankers that is, with heat FS. They can give in side shots for the tanks that try to deal with the mouse and flank the mouse. They can, well, just simply now rely on you taking the damage. And that was one of the big criticism points about the Leopard, that it just simply had to do everything by itself at 8.0 and was not the most competitive tank in the first place. When it's stuck, it's too slow, the gun is not very good, it's highly inaccurate, the APDS is unreliable, and you had to push into spawns where there were Soviet tanks in ambush. The mouse can deal to a certain degree with Soviet tanks head-on if you angle the turret and you literally push them out of the cap. The Leopard then can sit behind the mouse and just farm all the kills. In theory. In practice, there is a big problem because the difference between the mouse and the Leopard in both tank design, gun behavior, overall capabilities and weaknesses is just too big. If you look at the Soviets, where is the bloody difference between their medium and heavy tanks? They have insane armor, they have good mobility, and they have capable guns. Both of them. For the Leopard and the mouse, it's completely different. Why is that? The Leopard is too slow to do everything by itself, and it has also a very long stop run, which the mouse to a certain degree never had. Okay, the 75mm has a big stock grind, which is very important. And look at this, everybody could have just farmed this M103 easily and also this T32. If you see a mouse, try to stay near it. And this is what Leopard drivers don't do. They go off by themselves because they are so much faster than a mouse and they want to just, you know, win the battle by themselves. Then they die to a AAA, to a light tank, to a random shot, and then can just respawn in a bloody AAA, which is pointless, because then half of your team sits in your spawn with a AAA, not being able to challenge any enemy tank and also not going for the objective, so you lose on the objective as well. And if a Leopard would support the mouse in staying in an ambush position for those who want to deal easy mode with the mouse, that also requires a mouse driver being capable of being aware of its surrounding, its strength and weaknesses and angle and so on, then there is great synergy, something that is up to, yeah, I'd say Russian levels of performance. And that means the mouse gets a lot of spawn points when it gets eventually taken out by absorbing the shots, the damage, and eventually killing 1 or 2 players. It can smoke up entire regions of the battlefield with the smoke shell if you have unlocked it. It can give really devastating rapid fire into the sides of tanks, tracking them, trying to take out the gun breach. You also can find a lot of this in my tank review on the mouse if you haven't watched it already, which is a little bit older but still viable. And all that just sounds great in theory. In practice, it rarely happens. It also depends on the map. It depends also on which enemies that you face. Premium problem. You rely on premiums to support, but you have a really hard time dealing with other nations' premium. IS-6, for example, is still one hell of a tank to deal with. Same goes for the Object 120. It's faster than you, more maneuverable, has a better gun with more penetration, that just doesn't care about your angling in the first place. And then there are all the American autoloaders or recoilless rifle guns, or all the tanks with heat FS that also give you a lot of trouble, have a higher rate of fire, and yes, while you can defeat them if you catch them off guard, well, again, that is then a bad player that you have to, that you had the, well, fortune of dealing with. Most of the time you get intercepted before you can get into any real good position, and that leaves you just the option of relying on brawling situations, which where the mouse is not as good as the E100, which again is a fantastic tank. It's basically a more maneuverable mouse and even faster mouse, but it's also a bit trollish with the side armor in comparison, but has the same weapon system. And the E100 was limited. Look at that shot. Yes, I did not go through the gun mantle of an M36 Slugger. This also tells you just how unreliable this 128mm is. You saw the cupola shot in the beginning. You also saw this scene. This is highly frustrating. The mouse has no stabilizer, no autoloader. It does have a very long reload that just the IS-4 and IS-3 are longer, which are also tanks that struggle at the moment, I give them that, except against the Germans. Then again, if you exclude the premiums, so you see where this is going. The mouse has some fantastic abilities, but you need the teamwork. If you support each other, multiple mouses, and you support each other with the repair, the mouse is a hell of a tank, especially when you know how to play it. But in the current situation, the mouse sometimes is highly frustrating. If any light tank comes across with the stock shell, shoots you in the face because he also has a stabilizer. Yes, Object 906, I'm talking about you. Has a rapid reload and also can fall back on heat FS if you try to angle your turret, or just disable your gun breach through shooting on the angled gun mantle, which nobody talks about because nobody really has a proper look at the mouse, both the ones who drive it and also the ones who face it. And then there is this scene. So the scene is silent because it was on the live stream with many miles away, and yeah, you know, copyright and nonsense. And look at this IS-6, how can you really screw that up? My shot did not even kill him because it went magically through his tank or beneath him, and I actually disabled him with the heat into the side of the transmission, which is 1 in a million shot because the heat effect was not absorbed by the tracks or the side panels or whatever. And there is this object Nano 6, and I have absolutely no idea how he managed to screw that up. And now, before I can even reload, he bails out. Why do you just simply bail out? And then there is this fellow in this IS-2, and I do not extinguish the fire. He screwed up his shot. He could have easily waited up until my turret is stretched out. And then there is this IS-6. What the hell are you doing? Why am I not dead? Where are you shooting that you don't penetrate my side? Because of players like this, the mouse is still 7.7. And they are still 7.3 despite being so much better, because they are driven by players who do not understand how tanking works, because it's a premium tank, okay? So players at rank 1, 2, 3 buy themselves a rank 4 premium that gets into rank 5 matchmaking, and they think they are the best because they saw YouTube videos, mine included, saying this tank is way too strong. But then they do not understand in terms of how it is to be played to make the most out of it, so certain premium tanks still struggle. And yeah, that is deeply frustrating, because in a real head-on engagement, the IS-6 just has all the advantages over the mouse. If I would face a mouse in an IS-6, I would bet the money on my IS-6. If it is a 1 versus 1 situation and the mouse doesn't angle but tries to kill me, then I can deal with him. I have shown it maybe in 1 or 2 videos. I might do a video about the IS-6 again, but really the mouse by itself is an okayish tank. And to be fair with the matchmaking, it will not get better than this, because of you not getting up-tiered that often. But to glorify the mouse, to say this is now my favorite tank, no it isn't. It is a favorite of mine because it has style, because I like to do teamwork in it, and I like to really make the most out of it, trying to bait people into coming out of around the corner sideways on, because they think I fired my 128mm when I really just fired my 75mm and I blast them apart. That is a troll factor, yes, but then you have catched a not very knowledgeable player off guard. That is the strength of the mouse, dealing with idiots. But the second you come across a capable player in a Russian tank, in an American tank, you just have a really damn hard time. So the mouse is very satisfying at times and very frustrating at times. When it comes to playing together with a team, I think there is where the mouse really shines. It can distract the enemy, it can absorb the enemy's damaging fire, it even can deal to a certain degree with CAS. And yes, thank you Gaijin for bringing rockets to where they belong, and the mouse is now more or less immune to rocket fire, because not every rocket that just lands in the new vicinity of a mouse will blow it up. That is an awesome change. Thank you Gaijin for that. And in conjunction with the matchmaker works, as I mentioned before, that now gives the impression, hell, the mouse is now competitive again. But don't be fooled, because even at a full down tier, you really have to respect every other nation's tank, because most of them, or a lot of them, let's say a lot of them, have a high rate of fire, have stabilizers, APDS, heat FS, or a combination of both, or they can just simply go through your armor with simple AP rounds. There is no tank, I guess, that cannot deal with you in one way or another with the stock shell even. Hell, even the American medium tanks can. And I've did this myself. I know what I'm talking about. Yes, you might absorb multiple shots, but how much fun is that? And how good is that when it comes to winning the battle, going for the objective? Again, The mouse will not be that overpowered tank that so many people praise it to be, but it is a tank that, in conjunction with the rest of your teamwork, if the rest of your team is willing to do teamwork and can read the map and the situations and work together, then the mouse is an absolute monstrosity. But it's not a monstrosity by default, by playing like a wild idiot. You still need a lot of discipline, map awareness, positioning, and again, teamwork. So I hope I could clarify certain issues that I had with certain other people's videos. I'm not hating on them, I just thought it would be great to clarify things, not that you guys are hyped to research another mouse and expect magical things from it. It is still a tank that does not have a extremely bad stock grind, but with the addition of the smoke shell, which is a really great factor in a lot of battles, which can allow you to retreat, you can smoke up enemy sniping positions, you can smoke allies and so on that are under fire or repairing. This tank really shines with teamwork. It's all about teamwork in this tank, and it can really surprise the enemy. If then you're a knowledgeable player and a good shot and all that, you just have a good time with the mouse. But then again, if you are alone by yourself, it's so easy for enemies to flank you, to work around you, to defeat you in brawling. Don't be mad when this happens, because the mouse was never this OP tank. The mouse was never something similar to the IS-6 that has the mobility and the troll armor and can be literally played by idiots. I'm sorry about this word, but this is my honest opinion. Even at 6.3, this tank is way too under-tiered, and that just shows you the problematic situation. So for all the negatives that you can look at the mouse, if you don't like it, you also can throw positive aspects on it, and whatever you wanna have, however you wanna see the mouse, you have a good portion of arguments. But then please think about also the downsides or the upsides in respect what you think about this tank. That's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please don't forget to check out Miles' his channel and his videos. He's a good friend of mine. I want to support him, despite him being so much bigger than me in terms of channel size. Then also please don't forget to give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we will see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.